Okay, so today's talk is going to be about how to deal with someone who is passive aggressive. If you have an idea who that person is, stick around. We will share some information with you, and and then that would help you deal with this person effectively. All right, welcome back. I'm glad that you guys stick around for this exciting topic. Many people find it an interesting topic to learn a few things from. So, any questions or any thoughts you want to engage in our for any communication you want to engage in the topic today, you can send this message and we'll be able to see it here. Okay, so what is it for someone? What's that behavior of passive aggressive? What is that like? Anybody would like to give it a try, give it a shot? Yeah, yeah. I don't see her hand.
Yeah, I would love to take a shot, but will you let me? That's aggressive.
Would I let you? Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, all right. So that's interesting. Good, good. So how do you describe that?
How to describe it?
Mm. Okay, so indirect, irritating. Um, so passive aggressive is very common that people are indirect. Just like what we heard, is like I would love to share, and give it a shot, but would you let me? That's indirectly saying what? You're not a nice guy, right? And that's really this is a very common trait of someone who's passive aggressive. What is another trait for a passive aggressive? How about ghosting you or blocking you from their lives, or like giving you the infamous silent treatment? So they give you the silent treatment. They ignore your needs. They ignore what you are asking for, and they just tell you to talk to the hand. So it can be very frustrating. It can be very dismissing. So working with someone who is passive aggressive, that's a very common behavior when they are treating you that way. Another thing is what? What's another thing about passive aggressive?
They solve.
They sulk. Yeah. That's so when they sulk, they're what is it that they're really doing to you?
Trying to upset us too. Is it? Like, because they're talking, they want to upset us as well. Because they're upset.
Well, they're sulking. I mean, there are many different ways why people sulk, right? So the comment here is like because they're sulk and they sulk to us so they can hurt us. I mean, that's one possibility, but I don't think that's a famous reason for why they sulk. Some people sulk or passive aggressive usually sulk because they want to protect themselves. They feel offended, or they're just not comfortable with confrontation, and that's really common with those who are passive aggressive. They resort to passive aggressive behavior because they don't have the courage to talk to you. They would rather talk about you than talk to you. That's passive aggressive. And they're really when they talk to you, they're sarcastic. They're indirect. What's a sarcastic comment? So they're just making comments that are hurtful or critical, but in a nice way. And they're just trying to sugarcoat an insult. And that's sarcasm, really. It's a sugarcoating an insult. And they give you like a backhand compliment. What's a back? So what's an example of a backhand compliment?
You're so pretty, but you could use a little more height.
Well, that's more like sarcasm or indirect. But a backhand comment or compliment, it would be something like, you're really like you look awful, right? And you just because you had an incident like going to a friend's party, for example, and you get a flat tire or something on the road, or you had to walk for a while, and you know you're sweating, you're perspiring, and all that stuff, and you walk in, it's like, oh, you smell good. Oh, you look really good. Oh, you're well prepared for the party. Yeah, right on. So that's a backhanded compliment. So it's a compliment, but it's really a sarcastic, uh, insulting compliment. Any other thoughts that could be relating to someone who is treating you with a passive aggressive behavior? I would like to believe that we summarized pretty much, I would say maybe at least 90% of that behavior. So now, how do we deal with it? How do we deal with someone like that? And that's why everybody's here, right? So we need to learn. This is like the idea of why is it important to I mean, that's one thing that we can reflect on. What's important about learning how to deal with someone with passive aggressive? Because being for someone who is passive aggressive is quite common these days. I mean, it's happening everywhere, and yeah, and people are becoming more cowardice to address their own vulnerabilities or their own mistakes. So they're hiding behind WhatsApp, behind texting, behind phone calls, and they're just not willing or have the courage to fulfill their commitment, fulfill their responsibilities. So it's becoming more common. It's becoming it's becoming almost like normalized to behave with someone in a passive aggressive, in a passive aggressive sense. So therefore, it's really important how to deal with it, because when they deal with us in a passive aggressive way, it's blocking us from getting something. It's blocking us from getting what we're looking for. It's blocking us from being taken care of. It's blocking us from making sure that we exist in a certain relationship, right? It could be anybody. It could be someone we know. It could be someone that we don't know. It's really, it depends on that relationship. So how do we deal with it? Well, in order for us to address that passive aggressive behavior, we need to understand, how does it impact us? Is it really impacting us? If it's impacting us, then we need to do the following. If it's not impacting us, then there's something that we are doing that is good. If it's impacting us, then first thing we need to be mindful is that don't take it personal. It's not you, it's the other person. You're just being rightfully asking for certain things and you're being dismissed or being ignored. It doesn't make you asking like you are asking for more than what you deserve, right? If your neighbor is being loud and you're telling them to keep it quiet and they're ignoring you, it's not because you're being picky and about them being loud. They're just not. They're obnoxious and they're having these loud parties at night and all that. If your friend insulting you or they're not doing something nice to you, and you're calling him on it to help, so you would understand why they're behaving that way, and they just give you the ghosting, they ignore you, and they kind of they're criticizing you. Oh, you're a tough girl. You're a tough boy. They're not managing your needs properly because they're not investing in the relationship. So therefore, it's really important not to take it personally. It's not a deficit or a deficiency in your side, but it's actually a deficit on their side. They have deficiency on their side, and it's again to be mindful that this is how they're coping with their being whatever it is, cowardice, not well educated on how to manage their own emotions or regulate their emotions to address other people's needs, to be able to balance between what they need and other people's needs, to be mature enough to say, yeah, I made a mistake and I apologize. So a lot of people have difficulty saying, sorry or apologize or anything like that. So it's really important not to take it personally and focus on your need. Focus on the disconnect. Focus on what is missing so you can get it done from the other person. All right? Another thing that we can do with a passive aggressive person is you need to stick and look at the behavior, not the person. You need to tell the person what is acceptable. You need to be mindful of their behavior and call him on it. It's like, I'm noticing that you're upset. So when they give you a sarcastic comment, you can say that, I'm noticing that you're upset. Am I right? Am I getting the sense that am I correct? So you need to validate that. You need to understand that they are, if we don't take it personal, then we're not offended. Right? So we focus on the issue. We focus on what we need. And if we focus on what we need to help the other person to untangle their emotions. So it's like, oh, I'm sensing you're upset. What's going on? What's bothering you? What did I do to upset you? Because I'm just saying this, I'm just saying that. I just need this, I just need that. What's upsetting you about that? So you need to allow, in a way, you need to be the one who walk them through, not just help them understand emotions, but actually walk them through that emotion. And it does take effort. It does take energy from our side. It does take skills, because we need to practice this. It's not something that we're born with, but it's something that we can definitely learn. It's just like leadership. Can you be a leader? Yes. And we've seen a lot of people who become so-called presidents, but they have nothing to do with leadership. But but leadership is a skill that you can develop regardless of the role that you have, right? So someone can have a leadership role, but they're not leaders. But you can find someone like walking down the street, but they're more leaders than many people in the house. So that's the second thing we can do. If we are congruent, if we're not taking it personal, then we are able to stabilize our emotions. We're not triggered. So when we're not triggered, we are always the rock in the conversation. So therefore, you're allowing the other person to untangle their upsetness. They might walk away. They might, ignore. They might, but again, at the same time, you're taking care of yourself. Also, another thing that we can do with someone who is passively aggressive, with a passive aggressive behavior, is really to set boundaries. What is acceptable? What is not? What is it that can we say that it's for you to be mindful of how it's affecting you? What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? So so you can say something like, I would appreciate if you don't make sarcastic comments. I would appreciate if you tell me exactly what's happening. It makes it difficult for us to communicate when you're sarcastic. When you're not responding to my messages, I am unable to assist you, assist me, assist this, discover the fix for this need. And therefore, it's really important to highlight the boundaries. So by saying how it's impacting you. And just like the passive aggressive are indirect, guess what we need to be? Direct. We need to be direct in our communication, but not aggressive. Because the passive aggressive, they're just doing it sometimes to protect themselves, their anxiety or their cowardice, whatever the case might be. But we need to be direct but respectful. We need to be direct and honest. We need to be direct and truthful, factual. We don't want to exaggerate things. We don't want to attack the person, because it's the behavior that we don't like. So we address the behavior. So if you need something from someone and who that person is showing the passive aggressive behavior, you can just tell them what you did that you need. I need this. Can you do it or not? Are you going to do it or not? So being direct is basically asking a question like that. Are you going to do it or not? Because they can tell you questions, they can call you names, they can accuse you here, they can accuse you there. Are you going to do it or not? So then you can move on with your life. You don't have to expect it from the other person, because they're going to continue to be passive aggressive. And therefore, you don't need to assume that they're not going to give it to you. And last but not least, is something that I would like to highlight, is that we can be empathetic. We can show empathy to a person who is passive aggressive or showing a passive aggressive behavior. And so one thing, like, what's an example of an empathetic statement? So why would the passive aggressive behave that way? Because they are. Let's assume that they are. 90% of the chances is they're upset about something. That's why they're sarcastic. That's why they're blocking you. That's why they're indirect. That's why they're giving you a backhand compliment. Something is not making them happy. Actually, something is really annoying them or upsetting them. So we can acknowledge that. That's empathy, right? I can imagine that you're feeling upset. I'm more than happy to hear what is upsetting you. I'm more than happy to listen. By you saying that, it actually kind of like they're under the cover, and you just kind of peeled off the cover from them. You just dispose them to themselves. It's like, whoa, well, I don't have any weapons now. I cannot use any of the weapons I wanted to use. All the passive aggressive weapons, I'm out. He just stripped me, or she just stripped me from it. Because she's open, and I can tell her what I'm upset about directly. But I really don't feel like doing that because I'm a coward. Therefore, I'm going to ignore that person. And I'll just resort to my passive aggressive behavior again and again. And justify it, and just to say, but you this and you that. So they're trying. So basically, that person who is passive aggressive, they will think that way. So don't expect much. But again, regardless of their behavior, it's not because of you, right? And we mentioned before that in any relationship, you can control how much of the relationship is under your control. 50%. The other person is not holding the 50%, and it's not because of you. It's just because they cannot handle it. They just cannot handle it. You go to a workout shop, or a workout center. What is it called? Workout what? Workout. It's not a shop. It's a sweatshop. No, it's not a sweatshop. It's a what? For the gym. Yeah, workout center, I guess. Yeah. Fitness center. Yeah, workout fitness center. And you have these long bars, right? And the bars is like has 50 kg here and 50 kg on the other side. That's what a relationship is all about. You carrying that 50%, that 50 kg. The other person, if they're not able to do it, is the bar straight? It's not. It's tilted down from the other person. So what can you do? You cannot go in the middle and carry both. It's going to be really heavy for you. You can do it, but you cannot keep on. In doing that for the relationship. So you have to focus on your 50%. As long as you are authentic to your 50%, you're good to go. Okay, I'm going to stop here and see any questions or thoughts. And no questions online. Any questions here? Straightforward? Is it applicable, useful information? Yeah? So we can end here? Yeah? All right. So we're ending here until the next talk next week. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at noon. Until then, stay happy.